Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs, and thank you so much for joining me today. So, if you have been following these last few vlogs that have been in regards to my 2001 Pontiac Aztek GT, my Aztek has been sitting in pieces for well over a few months now. And we are now in October, and we're going to try really hard to get it running by the end of the month. I definitely want to have it running. That's my goal, is at least have it running by the end of the month. But the thing is, we're going to be getting into the cold weather, and I don't have a garage, and I don't have really any place to put it. Obviously, I can't move it, and I'm not towing it out of here to store it. So we're going to get it back together and running before it gets cold. Plus, I still have old gas sitting in there. I mean, at least, we're below a quarter of a tank according to the fuel gauge. So there's not much gas in there, but, it's still going to sit. It's been sitting for too long, and I don't want it going bad. Probably is bad. So, yeah, there's just a bunch of reasons why I want to get it running, obviously. And in this process, we have run into many roadblocks. And our most recent roadblock was the one of the heads. So the last remaining head on the Aztek is no good. We made the mistake of drilling too deep while trying to remove an exhaust stud, and our drill bit went in through the coolant jacket. So when you have fluid rushing in through the heads, as there should be, you're going to have a coolant leak at that exhaust point. I've read many things online where some people say you can try to fix that by putting some good RTV sealant on the new stud that you put in, but other people have said don't do it, just replace the head. It's going to be a constant nightmare. So we're just going to go ahead and replace the head, and I did. I was able to find a used head off of an '01 Grand Am, and that's part of my plan today. Is I have to restart my entire cleaning process. But also, at some point in this vlog, we are going to be putting the valves back into both heads after they're cleaned. Well, after I re-cleaned the new head, I should say. But we are finally going to lap the valves in, and we're going to put the new valve seals in, and we're going to put the springs back on the heads also. So we're basically reassembling the heads, and that's definitely a good sign, because that just shows we are now getting really close to putting these heads back on the engine. The only other thing that I'm going to have to do with these heads once the springs and stuff are back together is I'm going to try to put the exhaust manifolds on them also. We just want to put everything back together on the heads, and that way when we actually go out to the tech and we're gonna finish cleaning up the block real good, and then we can put our head gaskets on, and then we'll put the heads on, and then that'll be a step closer. So before I start any of the assembling, I have to start all over again with this new head. We're going to disassemble everything on this head. I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to put the brake dust cleaner on it again to try and get any of the old oil and sludge off. I'm going to try to do that here before it gets dark. Ironically enough, I say it's going to get colder, but we are going into our 90-degree week for the most part. Today it was about 90 degrees. Tomorrow is supposed to also be about 90 degrees, and then in a couple days it's supposed to storm, and we're supposed to be back in the 50s. So unseasonably warm temperatures right now for this time of year, and I'm getting over sickness. I wanted to do all this stuff over this past weekend, but I was extremely sick, and this is like my first day back to work and up and walking around, so we're just going to take care of this now. So like I said, we're going to strip the new head down, and hi hon, and then we're going to take it outside. We'll try and scrub it off before it gets dark, bring it back in here. I'm going to clean the springs, have the springs and the valves soaking in whatever purple power I have left, and I think that's really all that I'm going to have to do with this head. So I'm not really going to film in detail all this stuff because you guys have seen how this works with the other heads that I've done. But I figure, you know, we're going to film a really quick montage of this process. And we're going to bust out the new 8mm camera. Why not? I haven't used it in weeks. And it'll look cool. Let's get to work. Look at all that gunk that was underneath some of these these valve seats. Look at this. Look at the chunk on that. Wow. Definitely had some sludge buildup. Okay, so as to be expected, it got dark on me, um, but didn't turn out too bad for you know how long I managed to do it for. I still want to try to get a little more of that out, so tomorrow, and obviously I'm nowhere near done on the sides. You can kind of see, you know, like in here where it started to break up, and you know, I want to kind of get in here a little more, and of course I want to do the underside, which isn't too bad really. I mean, this is a pretty good bottom that I'm seeing here. I also do feel like that this one didn't feel as difficult to clean as the other two did. A lot of this came off fairly quickly for the most part, but you can see there's still just some around here and stuff that I want to take care of. So I'll have to do that tomorrow. Here's all of our small keepers. We want to keep those. These seats, pitch and nose, and my valves and springs are still sitting in here. Now, I was debating on whether I wanted to use 2, 4, and 6 from the other head, since I had already had them cleaned. They're sitting in here ready to go. But I don't know, these valves actually looked a little cleaner. Didn't seem to have as much carbon on them. I mean, there were, you know, there's some carbon, but not much carbon. And the springs are cleaning up a little bit nicer than those other ones are too. These are actually holding their metallic colors. And even though the ones from the original Aztek head cleaned up fairly nice, I still believe there was, you know, you can still see some grit on them for the most part. It's kind of hard to tell in the bag, but I mean, they just kind of look a little gritty. I don't know. I don't know what I should do. So I figured I would clean these and you know, maybe then compare and see which ones look better. I honestly don't think it's going to matter, because we're going to end up reseating these into this engine anyway, and they're going in the exact same order, 2, 4, and 6. So that really doesn't matter. Alright, so here's the new valves, 2, 4, and 6. And in my opinion, I feel like they look more like the other head that I bought from the junkyard. I think these cleaned up nicer. I'm not really seeing a whole bunch of carbon buildup. I mean, we see some carbon, white carbon actually, but it doesn't look like it's caked on like the valves from the original heads were. These actually look fairly smoothed out. This probably is the worst one, where you can see it looks like it's caking on. So we'll probably just end up using these in this head. Just sticking with that. And I'm going to throw these out. All of our keepers are here. That's all I'm going to do with this head for the night. So I think our next step is we're going to lap the valves into the other head. So let's go. Welcome back, guys. It's the next day, and I just finished cleaning up the other head. As good as I'm going to get it, and well, it doesn't look too far from different, you know, compared to the well, the other head that's here at the table. So it's downstairs, you know, drying off. In the meantime, we are finally going to start lapping these valves back into this engine head. In my kitchen, nonetheless, because I don't have a proper workstation. So I'm just going to do it here at my kitchen table. The whole point of lapping the valves is to clean up the seats, which you can see these small seats around here. Well, you know, there's, you know, probably some old grimy oil in there and possibly some carbon buildup, and every single valve seat has, you know, some sort of stuff on it. This one actually doesn't look too bad. You know, this one looks like for some reason it has a little bit of rust. I have no idea why. It was looking like that when I bought it. So the point of the, you know, lapping these valves is to clean all that up, and in that way the valves will seat better once they're, you know, put into the head, and it'll probably, you know, help the engine perform better if the valves are opening and closing properly. So for this task, and I know a lot of you guys are going to say I'm doing it the hard way, but I've never done this before, so I'm just going to try it this way first, the way that I read about, and you know, I don't want to end up trying to screw anything up. But we have an actual valve lapper, and basically it's a wooden stick with two suction cups on the end. One is going to be for our smaller valves, which are the intake valves, and the bigger ones here are for the exhaust valves. We are also going to be using valve grinding compound, and it's basically, we mix this with a little bit of water and it turns into a paste, and that is what is going to clean. It's got like a, you know, gritty material. It's going to clean all of this stuff out. So let me prepare that and let's get to work. Okay, so it really didn't tell me how much water to use to make it into a paste. I might have too much water on here. I dumped a little bit of water out of this container and the black gritty stuff stayed. So I'm assuming it's okay. I mean, it definitely feels gritty. You know, and I actually ended up maybe squeezing more out, but it doesn't harden. At least that's what the tube said. So if I left it out, you know, to do the other one, it should be okay. Okay, so at this point we got our tool out, and I think I'm going to need maybe another little thing of water. We might have to use some water, just stick it on the suction cup, that way the valve might hold better. We'll find out. But anyway, so this is the part where we want to pay attention to making sure, you know, the correct valves are going in the correct spot that they originally came out of. So this is, again, this is the back head of the engine, and the way that I'm looking at it, this is our exhaust side here. So when it's on the engine, this is going to be cylinder 1, this will be 3, and this is going to be 5. So if we flip it back over, we're working with cylinder 5, the valves for cylinder 5. And our first one is going to be the intake, which is the smaller one. So I got my valves here, which I, you know, bagged after I cleaned. Okay, and this is going to be our intake valve. So again, they're still, you know, when I clean them, not perfect. There's still a little bit of carbon around here, but that compound is also going to clean the very edges of these valves also while we are doing our lapping. We're going to take our compound, just put it on our finger, and start applying it around the sides of the valve. Alright, so we have our compound on the valve. I'm just going to try to set this here for a second. Now, it's kind of, you know, tight going in there, and we're going to be doing some moving. So I actually have a quart of motor oil, and I'm going to actually apply it to the valve stem. There, actually that slides in a lot better now. Okay. Now we'll push our valve in there the rest of the way. Take a water, get this wet a little bit. And push it on down. So once this is actually connected to the suction cup, we're going to twist it back and forth. Maybe. Can't do anything right, can I? Yeah, my suction cup's not sticking at all, actually. But I'm getting it to turn. You can kind of hear how it started making that noise. It's making like, you know, a grinding noise, and it's getting quieter. So that's actually the there we go. We're getting it now. That's actually the grit, you know, breaking up into finer grit. So then you stop, pick the valve up, what you can, reposition it, and go again. Gets quiet. Try to pick this up. And then put it back down. Now it doesn't matter how fast you do it. You don't have to do it fast. You can do it slow like I am. I mean, I've seen people take these off, use them on a drill, which, you know, not a bad idea, but I'm having a hard time even keeping this suction cup on here, so. And you just want to keep doing it over and over for, you know, a little while, just to ensure that there's, you know, a good amount of cleaning going on here. Okay, so then after a few times we'll push the valve out. And I'm going to wipe off the valve. Now we got to make sure that we get as much of that compound out, because, you know, it's got all this fine grit material, and this stuff can screw up the engine. I know the lighting in here is not the best, but look at how nice this ring, inner ring is. That is what lapping does for you. That inner seat looks awesome. It's nice and smooth. Where that groove is cut out, that is where the valve is seating in that ring. So that's probably as good as that's gonna get. You can tell that there was a lot of buildup on this one. Now this exhaust valve doesn't seem to have as much carbon. Actually, it doesn't really have any carbon buildup. You can see the middle of the valve. And as far as the seat, there's still some of the seat here. It's not as bad, so we might actually be able to clean up this one with a little more ease, probably. Okay, so you can see the ring on this valve now. And again, I think we have some pretty nice results there. So you can look at the inner rings, the inner seats. You can compare those to heads that I didn't do, or sides that I didn't do. You see a little bit of stuff in there, around here, and then of course these like this over here, and so those inner seats, those are good to go. Alright guys, so it's the next night. I didn't really get to finish everything the way I wanted to because it was already getting kind of late. But anyway, so here's where we left off last night. I completely finished lapping all of the valve seats on this back engine head, and as you can see, you know, especially with this one, the rust kind of goes away around that inner ring there, so looks good. I cleaned it all out. Wiped everything down as best I can. Same with all the valves, which were rebagged. And so I think now what we're going to do is, first of all, look at little. And second off, I think we're going to finally assemble the valves and the springs onto this head. So this head is pretty much ready to go. We you know, thoroughly cleaned it off of all of the grime and oil and stuff as best we can. Even though there's still some inside, I can't get what is in there off. And I've tried, you know, several times, but I don't think it's at this point going to matter. A majority of all of that awful stuff is out of there. So we cleaned it all up, and then we sanded all of our gasket surfaces. Exhaust bolts are fixed and out. There's the one new one that we stuck in there. I just left it in there, so that is good to go. And now the lapping is done, so it's time to apply the new valve seals, which are these here. You saw me pull these off on several of these head videos. So I pulled these out of my Felpro head gasket kit. That's right, this is the first time that I've had to open up that box. That is awesome. I've had that stuff since January. I literally bought that like a day after we bought the Aztek. So I had that for when the time came to fix this car. And it's time, guys. It's finally time. So, with these particular seats, or not seats, but these seals, you know, it's like a metal cap, kind of. I think it's metal. Yeah, it's metal cap, and it's got the rubber washer there, which is the seal itself. On this particular engine, all we really have to do is just like sit it on top. So then once we get all of these on here, all 6 of these per, you know, head of course, then we can actually put the valves and the springs back into place. Hooray! So I'm going to take the valve. This is number 5. And this is the exhaust valve that we're putting in here. So again, I'm going to put some oil on this so it slides up into that seal just fine. Okay, and here it comes up through the seal. It's there. And now we're going to get my spring compressor tool, and we're going to compress the spring. Okay, so as mentioned in the video where I was talking about removing these springs, there's these little keepers right here, and all of these valves get 2 of these. They go on both sides of each other, and these are what you want to put them in as. As you can see, they kind of bevel downward. You want the thicker end at the top and the smaller end toward the bottom. Getting these back in here are going to be fun. They should just sit in there. You could probably get the other one right next to it on the other side. Got it. Alright. It took a little bit. Releasing the tension. And yes, the spring pushed down the seat the rest of the way. Alright. Awesome. So we got one in. I got 5 more to do now for this particular head. Oh my word, and just like that, this head is done. Look at how nice those springs look. They look the whole thing looks so much better than it did when I brought it home. Oh, it looks so much better. The bottom side where all the valves are. They're all sitting where they should be. Sweet. So the only thing, let me think. The only thing that I really have to do now is we have to. We're gonna put this new spark plugs in. So we'll have that ready to go. So we'll put the new spark plugs in and get the proper exhaust manifold on it. There's that one piece I believe I have to stick on this side. One of these two sides, there's a special bracket I have to dig out and put back on, and that's ready to go back onto the car. The other head sitting here from last night. The only thing that I have to do to this head is we have to I have to sand it. I have to sand it down, but this is how the inside turned out. You know, I washed it off again. I mean, it really doesn't look too bad. They may have already done some sanding. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It looks fairly smooth in a lot of places. In the bottom. So I have to sand this, and then I will lap the valves, and then I will assemble it just as I did this one. Now when it comes to putting the Aztek together, I'm not planning on filming the entire rebuild process. I mean, maybe here and there I'll make some footage for a vlog. But for the most part, we're just doing things backwards from tearing it all apart. The only things that I think I am going to film are the crucial parts going back on, like the actual head gaskets, the actual intake gaskets, upper and lower intake gaskets, and then maybe just a few of the other finishings, like, you know, adding fresh oil and maybe draining to see if anything else comes out before we add fresh oil. Stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm not planning on you know, filming the entire engine rebuild process. It's pretty self-explanatory, just so you guys know. So I'm going to wrap it up now. We're almost there. I'm so excited. Today is October 10th, so, you know, I have a few weeks. My new goal is to have it running before the end of the month, and even though there's still things that I have to do to it that I was hoping to get done before I put back together, we'll just have to work around that. But I'm really hoping I can get it running together and running. If not running, hopefully just together at least. Guys, if you like this vlog and you found this interesting or as excited as I am, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Check out teespring.com/store/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. You can also find said merchandise down below this video, where you can scroll and view some of the items that you can find at my Teespring store. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Take care. Duncan. Duncan. Hey. Hi, Duncan.